as Ron was saying, we are recording this. This is an oral history project. We have a grant from the Michigan Humanities Council to do 4 programs through the year, and this is our final program. Not to say that we won't do another one after this to see how this one goes and maybe some other subjects. And we are also developing an oral history repository in which this program will be a part of it. We will have the recording and a transcription of it eventually online. So we're excited about that. If you have questions, we will be having a microphone that will be walking around with me because we want to make sure your question is recorded. And all the performers, when they answer questions, will be speaking into a microphone as well. I am Marla Broad. I am Special Collections Librarian here, along with Bob Lingus. I was not to be in charge of this program today. I was supposed to just sing one song and answer some questions, but our coordinator, Cindy Cuss, had a family emergency, so we had to step in and take charge for her. So I'm kind of winging this. We do have some questions that she left with us to ask the performers. I believe Greg Adamus will be coming in hopefully in a little while. I think he had a prior commitment and will be coming in shortly. We have Randy Boshard with us today. We have Kat Tomazinski with us today, Mrs. Hart and Mr. Hart, Mary Louise and Jim Hart, and myself performing, and we'll probably ask a few of you some questions too. I see some people I'd like to ask some questions for. So I guess, and we were also going to be having the performers just tell a brief bio of them. Cindy was developing a bio of each person, but I would like to have each performer do just a brief bio, kind of their music background and their career. So again, I am Marla Broad. I have a Bachelor of Music from Alma College. I started music in, I believe, 1st grade with Mr. Hart. I had him all through my entire career except for 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. When I got to high school, he was transferred to high school, and even all this time later, I've been out of school for, 30 years now? He still gives me voice lessons. And I met Mrs. Hart probably in high school for when we were doing state solo and ensemble performances and stuff, and she would play for us. And I literally have to sing for my supper when I go to the Hart's house to practice. So, and Mrs. Hart and I will start this with I Could Have Danced All Night from My Fair Lady. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we're going to wait a second. Ron is going to talk about how this idea of this music history developed.
I'll try. I have a lot of friends who know a lot about music, and I don't know anything about music. And a couple of them were talking to me one day about 3-4 years ago about we don't have the history. We don't have
someday we're going to have those 16 teachers here and have them talk about education in the schools, in the parochial, in the private, and the public schools. Okay, that's a brief explanation of what we're doing and how we got here, and I can't tell you how it's going to end because it'll be going a long time along with all the other special collections that the library has. Okay, who was supposed to start now? There you worth pursuing. So those are kind of the questions that we can email to them. And let's start with Marlo here. Anybody have a question, or you want her to just try and talk us a little bit?
Well, I already told you where it all began. I'm still amazed that Mr. Hart saw something in me back in first grade and stuck with me all these years. I honestly don't know what it was that he heard all that long ago, but obviously he knows what he's hearing, and the same with Mrs. Hart. You know, they have that ear to know. Music has been a treasure to me. I can't imagine going through school without it, and when they talk about taking it out of the schools, it really bothers me. I look at my children now. I have a 9-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter, and my daughter wants to go into musical theater. She has an incredible voice. Jean Brown Baker is her teacher now in high school, and she has learned so much from her, and I see her just blossoming. She has just blossomed in these past few years being on stage and singing. And to have them sit with Mrs. Hart by the piano now, you know, it's the next generation going through, and it is just an honor for me. I don't know what else to say. I think Mrs. Hart can probably, I'm curious to know, how many students do you feel that you have taught in your entire career? And please use the microphone so we can hear you. It's on.
As to how many students, it was a matter of my last 5 years of teaching, when we only saw children in the elementary schools, 1 through 6, once a week. And when we were up to 963, you didn't know the children the same way. It did change what we had here in Alpena. We had a good music education system going, I felt, at one time. We could see children twice a week. We would really know them as they passed through those grades. I think one thing that I did enjoy, there were a few years at the end of my teaching career when we finally had some choirs in the grade school. That was our opportunity to find those children that we thought, yes, there are probably some special ability here. And when they were in a room where everyone could match pitch, carry tune, they had a different feel for music education, I'm sure, at that time.
Wow. Any questions from the audience? No? Maybe wait a little while. Okay, we've got 2 waiting artists. We have Randy and we have Kat. Randy, would you like to go next? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Randy Bouchard. I knew Randy as the person in charge of the ladies' clothes closet or store in the high school, and I didn't know he was a musician until many, many years later, and I asked him a question today. So Randy, maybe you can answer it when I ask you again. How old were you when you started playing music, and was there somebody that started you on?
Yeah, I was very fortunate at a very young age. In about 3rd or 4th grade at Oxbow School, we used to do a program where our band teachers and our music teachers would have us stay after school, and we kind of had an informal, you could join, not join. I don't remember what we called it, but it was, we did programs. And I had a teacher, Mrs. Best, who was my 3rd grade music teacher, and she was excellent in exposing us to music at a very young age. Matter of fact, I'll never forget one of the very first times I ever heard any music outside. My family was kind of into country music, which didn't flow real well with me, but I didn't know why. It wasn't something that appealed to me. And I was in Mrs. Best's class, and we had to do something for talent, and so I asked her if she had any idea what would be good for me, and she introduced me to Tom Jones, and brought in a Tom Jones record, and I did a lip sync to Delilah, who was making a song at the time. And then that went into It's Not Unusual, because once I got the hip movement and I could do It's Not Unusual, from then on, but exposed me to other things in music. And I was real fortunate as I went through school. I had Mr. Hart as a music teacher when I was in the 7th, 8th, 9th grade at Besser Junior High. And one of the very first influences he had on me, besides the standard old singing, the classic choir type stuff, was I remember he loaned me Bridge Over Troubled Waters by Paul Simon. And I remember taking that home and playing. We had our first record player at home, and I put that on and was like, what is that? That just hit me like something I'd never heard before, and it was just beautiful. And he knew, I brought the album back to him, but he just knew that kind of thing fit me. And I was then fortunate from there. I went and had Mr. Best in high school. And Mr. Best was the same way. He would expose us to all kinds of music. We'd be in jazz band. We had a phenomenal jazz band back then, and I was a drummer. And we had 7 of our 18 members got a full scholarship to college playing music out of that jazz band. And but he exposed us to, we'd go in there any day and we could play anything from a Stan Kenton tune to Frank Zappa to the Beatles to whatever was there. And I was very fortunate to have musical teachers that exposed us to the music of the times rather than just giving us historical music and just saying, here's what you had to do. And that really affected me because I really found something that clicked with me. And Mrs. Best was the very first one ever. I was fortunate that Mrs. Alferis is sitting in the audience right there. Her son Paul and I was in school at the same time. And Paul and I were in a program with her, and we had a Beatles collection we had to do. And Paul did Fool on the Hill, and I did Michelle. Didn't know French at all, but somehow or another she taught me how to sing the French part. And I just remember coming out of that going like, now that's something I could do, I could really enjoy it. And Paul and I, her son, we played music for all the way through school. Now, it wasn't something that either one of us went into as a full-time thing, but it was something that always played in the background of our lives, which I thought was very important. I think that's one of the things we lack with kids, is the creativity aspect of it. And to take out art and music from schools is, I know my kids, I grew up in a house, I have 3 children, and all 3 of my children were exposed to music just because it was there. I had a room that had a drum set in it, and guitars and pianos, and they just did whatever they wanted to do. And I never ever gave them a lesson unless they asked, and I never asked them to do anything, and all of my children end up following music as a big part of their life. My son is an exceptional guitar player, plays. My daughter got a scholarship and performed in Chicago for several years at the Chicago College of Performing Arts and Music Theater. And my son Andy, who was the least musical of the whole group now, is probably playing more music than all of us put together. Once he got out of school with a business degree, he's playing music in his part-time. But it was that exposure. I kind of did the same thing. I was lucky to have teachers that exposed me the same way, just kind of see how that goes with you, and it was just exposed to all kinds of music. And that was really huge for me. We had teachers that really had an affection. I really felt that with Mr. and Mrs. Best and Mr. Hart, that they wanted you to see music as part of your life and not just taking this as a class, but this is something you could enjoy forever. And that's lacking now. It really is. The kids I don't think they understand that the music can be something that you can play when you're, I'm going to be getting close to 60 now, and still enjoy playing music with kids that are 20 and 25 years old, 30 years old. Still enjoy playing music with them, but it's something I've done all my life as an add-on to everything else I've done. I wasn't a professional musician. I've fortunately been able to do a lot with it, but I taught high school for 31 years. I taught business and computers. Then retired from that, and I worked at Great North Foods as their customer service manager for the last 5 years. But it was a part underlying all my life was the music was always there. And whether it be playing in a play or playing in a pit orchestra or playing in a wedding or whatever, it was a real integral part of what made my life special. I told you before, it's just a matter of when you and I will be together again. And it comes and it goes, Lord, don't you know? It comes and it goes, Lord, don't you know? I told you before, this is a night when everything wrong will work out alright. I told you before, it's just a matter of time when your love will walk hand in hand with mine. Still it comes and it goes, Lord, don't you know? It comes and it goes, Lord, don't you know?
Thank you, Randy. Time for questions. Anybody have a question or Randy?
Randy, where's that from?
It's a song.
Very nice.
About how many songs have you written?
Oh, I've written a lot of songs over the years. A lot of them not very good, but some of them aren't halfway decent. I've been fortunate to. I love to play other people's music, but it's kind of one of those things through time that I've written a lot of stuff. And unfortunately, my kids are on me now to get it down to some kind of digital recording, so that hopefully it's there for the grandkids and everybody else. It'd be nice to do. So I'm working on that. Just the new technologies. I'm used to tape recorders, and new technologies are something I've got to work on. My garage band skills aren't very good.
This isn't a question, but about 6 years ago, I went to Finland, and we took a tour to a Finnish tour company. About 6 years ago, I went to Finland. Okay, I went to Finland.
You know, she went to Finland since you're.
We took a tour boat over to St. Petersburg, and on the boat was a Finnish man playing guitar and singing, and he handed out music books for the rest of us to follow, all written in Finnish, of course. A couple of songs I recognized from the Finn Hall that my grandparents went to, but there was Delilah. We sang Delilah.
Oh, jeez.
And I could not believe it. I said, oh man, we know this tune, and it was all written in Finnish.
Yeah, that's an old classic too. Tom Jones kind of remade, put a little rock in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mrs. Marsh, who influenced you in your music?
I can recall doing things before I ever went to school. There was a piano in our home. My mother had been a kindergarten and first grade teacher, so I had the advantage of her teaching me things. And so I started actually with music with my mother, and then piano when I was 7. So I continued to college.
And how did
unfortunately, she was going to play the saxophone today, but her allergies have really kicked up. So she does have a recording, she said, that she will share with us of her playing the saxophone, and then she will answer questions for us and talk to us about, I guess she would be the youngest generation here of the music, and she's going to relate her experience to that.
Hi, thank you. As Marla said, I'm Kat Tomaszewski, and so I think I'll start with the recording and then I'll talk a little bit after, if that's okay. I felt really bad that I couldn't play today. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. One of my very favorite songs in the entire world to play is a song called What a Wonderful World, that everybody knows, the Louis Armstrong version. And it's just a very inspirational song, and when I listen to it, you just can't help but be happy. And so when I love to play it too. Oh, I think I need the chord. Here we go. Okay, so here it is. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it.
Kat, just give us a little bit of background, bio, your music background, and what you're doing today.
Okay, well, currently I am a student at Full Sail University in Florida, and I'm getting my bachelor's degree in music business. I have 9 months left. And I also work at the Buster Museum, which is very exciting, and I get to use a lot of the stuff that I learned in my music business degree at the museum. And I love history, especially Alpena history, which is why I'm here today. I started playing music in kindergarten, but I knew I loved music long before that. I remember as a child sitting behind the couch in our first house, so I was probably 2 or 3, listening to Father Abraham over and over and over and over and over and singing along to it because I just loved music. soccer, and I played, I scored some goals, but I didn't love it. And then I tried tap dancing, and after the first 4 or 5 months, I was really bored of just going heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, and it didn't soothe my soul the way music did. And so my mom saw a flyer at LO8 school for piano lessons, and she's like, why don't you try music? We haven't tried that yet. And I started, and I loved it. Every week I was doing 2 or 3 songs a week, and I would come home from school and want to practice. And as time went by, piano just became more and more important to me. And then in 5th and 6th grade, I picked up the saxophone. I wanted to play the trumpet. I don't know why. And my mom and my grandpa said, I think you'd probably like the saxophone a little more than the trumpet because it's a little more versatile, and it's just, they really liked it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll play the saxophone then. And I was afraid of making a mistake, so in band I would pretend to play but not actually play. And then I would go home and play for hours. It was the craziest thing. The very first song I ever played on the saxophone was Love Me Tender by Elvis. I didn't even know how to put the saxophone together. The neck into the body was something that I mean, you look at it now after playing for 10 years and you're like, that's really easy, but when you first start, you don't know. And so somebody helped me figure out how to put it together, and I played, and just after the end of the first verse of the song, I was so out of breath from playing, but I wanted to keep playing. So Mr. Morris was my teacher at that point, and he would stay after school and work with me and help me, and then I started taking saxophone lessons from him. And that was right at a period in time where my piano was starting to, I was getting a little bored. Every teacher has a different teaching method, and the way they teach suits some students really well, and some students it doesn't suit. And we would only work out of books, and we would work on just reading music, just literally reading what was on the page. And I wanted to do something that was a little bit more expressive. And so the saxophone came along right when I was starting to get to a roadblock in piano. And so I picked up the saxophone, and it kind of revived my piano playing for a little bit, but it still wasn't where I wanted to be. And that's when I met Mrs. Beyer, who's standing in the back here, and she completely changed my life in music. She taught me that music is an expression of you and who you are and your soul and everything amazing. And so she taught me how to look at a piece of music and improvise and play chords and read chords. And so now somebody could hand me a lead sheet that just has words and little chord symbols, which is like the abbreviation for all of the music. And I can play that, and that's really cool because I love to play rock and roll and jazz. And then I'm also music director for 2 churches, St. Paul Lutheran Church in Harbor Lake. I play the organ and direct the choir, and we'll be starting a chime choir soon. And I'm also at the Spread United Methodist Church. And both of those places I use everything that Mrs. Beyer taught me, and she gave me that love for music again when I hit that roadblock. And then I met her, and everything just brightened. The curtains opened, and I fell in love with it all over again. And so that was either the end of junior high or beginning of high school. And right in junior high, I got a new saxophone, which was very exciting, and it really encourages you to want to keep playing. And in 7th grade, after playing for just a year, I played my first professional gig. It was for Thrivent Financial for Lutherans. They had a Christmas party, and I really, really am grateful to them for letting me play there, because I can't imagine it was very good. But they had faith in me, and I had 25 songs that I repeated throughout the course of the night. And I played jazz. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Glenn Miller, Hoagie Carmichael, the classics, the standards. And that's really where my love of music stems from, is from those standards. And actually I played that gig on a saxophone I bought at a garage sale for $30. It was a really nice saxophone. It was a vintage horn. new tenor saxophone, which is the middle saxophone that all like John Coltrane, the people that you associate with jazz, Sonny Rollins, all played. And then high school, I was in symphonic wind ensemble, and I met Josh Bizance. I don't know if anybody knows him or his family. He's a very amazing saxophone player, famous for his red, white, and blue saxophone in town. And he prepared me for my jazz band audition and was really instrumental in catapulting me into modern jazz. And then right after that, I met Greg, Dr. Greg Adamus in the back, and he really taught me a lot about jazz saxophone. I remember days where I'd go over and we'd be there for 2 or 3 hours, and we'd be on the saxophone, and then he'd hop over to the piano, and I'd watch him play the piano. And I had met him quite a few years back, actually, when I taught a class for the Association of Lifelong Learners at the college. And it was a concise history of jazz. So we started way in the beginning and worked our way right up until the 80s or 90s. And I was just a freshman at that point. And Greg hopped in, and I would talk about a period of jazz, and then he would play it. And Dr. Joyton from ACC hopped in on the string bass, and it was the coolest thing. And then all those people that I met throughout my life, I still work and play with regularly now. I don't know if you have any more questions, or I kind of talked for a long time.
How about the audience? Questions?
Excellent, thank you, Kat, that was wonderful. Ron is going to introduce Greg, and then once Greg's done, I would really like Randy to play us another song, if he's got another song that he could play for us. Oh, Greg Roswell.
Well, this is Dr. Greg Adamus, late of Alpena High School, and now in the music scene and the show scene in Alpena. He's going to be playing for us, but he came prepared, so I have a little bio here that I'm going to read.
Someone told me I needed to.
Yes, I told them they all had it, but he's a native of Detroit. So he was a free, uncle, amateur, freelance amateur musician and active in the theater. He's got a Bachelor of Music from Olivet College, a Master of Arts in Education Administration from Eastern Michigan. I have one too from Eastern Michigan, right? And Doctor of Education and Philosophy from Walden University. He's been a resident of Alpena for 27 years, created and produced Bayview Paris Summer Concert, Bayview Park over in...
My handwriting is terrible. It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
Is that here or over? It's just,
No,
our vehicle, okay. And he TBAC Guitar Summit. He's got good printing. Retired as principal from Alpena Public Schools. I remember when he first came, we've talked about that. He came first, I think, with a special program in reading in elementary school, and then he came up to the high school. Became an assistant principal, and as a counselor, I had to work with Greg, and I did not know he was a musician. He married to Betsy Adamus, church organist and chair director. He has 2 sons, James and David. And I want to add one more thing. I was talking to Greg here 2-3 years ago, and talking to him about his past in Detroit, and we got talking about the Baker Keyboard Lounge.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. And when I was growing up in Detroit, if you wanted to hear jazz, you went to the Baker Keyboard Lounge. And did you say that your father and you played at the Baker Keyboard Lounge? Now there's the mecca
We
of jazz.
sat in.
Sat in, okay.
We were in.
Okay, I give you Greg Adams.
Thank you. comments from upstairs e-house. I think they're welcome.
That piano was a gift from Tom and Polly Chichurka, and it originally belonged to the Carl Henry family on State Street.
Mary Davison learned her piano.
Any other questions or statements? Greg? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to Marlo, and she can.
How did you start in music? What was your influence?
The secret is out. I was blessed with a musical family. My parents were both professional musicians, so in my house, playing instruments and practicing was like breathing air. There was nothing to it. It was not a chore. You know how people talk about how hard you was practicing. That wasn't like it in the Adams household. We played because that's what we did as a family. So I was blessed with an entertainment family. So that's the long and short of it.
And obviously you're influencing students, so you were in administration. You did not teach music at all in the schools.
No,
But obviously you did teach music.
I was a high school band director for 5 years, but nobody knows that. And I kind of keep that secret. It was downstate. I was at Dundee, Birmingham, Seaholt, and New Hope. And I did 5 years of that, but you know, it was tough. It was tough work. And my principal got an appendicitis, and because I was the band director and I was also the student council advisor, homecoming came along, there was no principal, so they asked me to be acting principal, and they would hire a sub for the band group. So I did, and I didn't work as hard as a principal. And I thought, this is the way to go. And I noticed that I came to work in the morning as a band director. My car was the first one in the lot every morning. And when I left school, I was the last one to leave, not as principal. So it all worked out.
And yet you're influencing students, obviously.
Obviously, that's what I love.
Yeah.
And after this is done, I'm going to give you a list of kids you got to talk to that are no longer here, that have done so magnificently well in music. I'm sure you know some of the people.
John, you had a question?